Jangan.น่ากลัวแล้วเนี่ยอาเซ่นี่เด้อาเซ่นี่เด้ไม่เท่าไหร่ไม่เท่าไหร่ไม่เท่าไหร่นั่นมันบอก
Hello, Mr. Ture.
Yeah, it seems like the class, everyone is busy.
Sorry, it took me time to log in again because electricity went off. So I was trying to log in my phone and
Okay.
later on light came again. So I'm trying to log in with my laptop because it's best to use with my laptop and the phone.
Let's see. So let's continue from where we stopped and then see where maybe 7 o'clock we can stop and see. So we try to finish the demand part.
I hope you took the class attendance.
Uh, it doesn't matter. I know it's 4 people. This class so it's
Mr. Moose told me that he's going to mark class attendance. So I
class
thought the same
attendance.
thing applies to you.
Class attendance are taken, obviously. So what I'm trying to say is
Okay.
easy to remember. The class size is too small. So we continue from where we stopped. Okay.
Okay. Mohamed, this is about man like this. What am you?
So we were talking about expectation as another variable.
Yes.
Expectation. So if you think that you will have a future income will increase, obviously your demand will. If your expectation is positive, obviously your demand will also shift. It will shift to the right. So if you think that your future expectation, if you think that your income will be lower, then obviously your demand will shift to the left, meaning that it will decrease. So it will shift to this place. So also we have number of buyers as well. So the last one is what the number of buyers. So obviously if the number of buyers increase, demand will increase. So these are some of the things that we look already. So this brings us to the end of demand, trying to understand the behavior of buyers.
Let me, just before you remove this right now, I need to take something down.
Okay. So that brings
I'm
us to
taking
the
example.
Okay. So everything, all these things are even further, they are more explained, they are further explained in the book. So if you go through the book, you will have even better understanding. This is a lecture. I'm trying to capture the most important part, so that if you are reading, you can follow you can have a guideline where to read. But the book is there. It's a very
Okay.
good book, well explained, and the reading, the author did
Yeah.
a very good job with the book.
Yeah, I've seen that. Okay, we can carry on.
All right, so we finished demand. So what we are going to look at now is supply. So whenever we hear supply, always remember that we are trying to understand the behavior of the sellers or the producers or the farms. So we are trying to understand that. As you remember, when we define what is economic, it's about choice, making choice, decision making. So it's just about how sellers make decision or choice. So when we talk about supply, it's about just trying to understand the behavior of sellers in the market. So when it comes to supply, there are certain terminology that is very, very important to understand. So things like supply curve. So one, we need to know what we mean by supply curve. How does supply curve look like? So when we talk about supply curve, it just shows relationship between two variables. And what are these variables? One is the price of the good. And another variable is what? The quantity supplied. So whenever you see supply curve, it shows relationship between two variables. And these two variables are price and quantity supplied. So how does a supply curve look like? It's just like this. So on the vertical axis, we have the price of the good. So on the horizontal axis, we have the quantity supplied. This is quantity supply. So supply curve is upward sloping, meaning that it increases from left to right. So when you have a curve that is upward sloping, always it means that the relationship between the variable that is on the vertical axis and the variable that is on the horizontal axis is positive. So meaning that when the relationship is positive, it means that when price increases, quantity supplied also increases. So this upward sloping supply curve, it's what it is indicating, that the relationship between price and quantity supplied is positive, or is positive. So that positiveness is shown in the upward sloping supply curve. So when we also talk about quantity supplied, is just the amount. So what is quantity supplied? One thing also you need to know is that the quantity supplied, so it's just the amount of goods and service that sellers are willing and able, just like demand. So another concept we should also know is quantity supply. What do we mean by quantity supply? Remember, we talked about supply curve, which shows relationship between price and quantity supply. So what do we mean by quantity supply? So what do we mean by, when we talk about quantity supply, we are talking about two things that are very, very important in the definition, which are just like demand, willingness, and what? Ability.
Ability, yeah.
So it's just the amount of goods and services that sellers are willing. Willingness must be willing, and plus what? Ability and able. The amount of goods that sellers are willing and able to sell. So you cannot have a definition of quantity supply without these two important words. So willingness and abilities are very, very key words. So another thing that we also have to look at is loss of supply. What do we mean by loss of supply? So when we talk about loss of supply, it's just a notion or a claim. If other factors remain constant, you understand, increase in price, it's just like if other factors that affect supply, other factors, if other factors that affect supply, that affects supply remains constant, meaning that they don't change. So if those factors that affect supply, they don't change, if there is an increase in price, quantity supply will also increase. Increase in price will lead to increase in quantity supply and vice versa. So when we talk about loss of supply, you just say claim and vice versa. So if other factors that affect supply remain constant, meaning they don't change, then if price increases, then quantity supply will also increase. But if price decreases, quantity supply also will also decrease. So that is what we mean by loss of supply. So this is another concept that we need to be familiar with, or we know it. So then we talked about supply schedule. So supply schedule is just like demand schedule. So when we talk about supply schedule, it's just a table that shows relationship between quantity supplied and the price of those quantity at different prices. So it's just like demand schedule that we have seen before when we are talking about behavior of buyers. So supply schedule is just like a table whereby you have a price like this. Then you have quantity supply here. So we have different prices with quantity demanded at different prices. Let's say the price when price was 2, 3, 6, 9, then 11. Let's say the quantity supply when price was 2 was 3, this was 4, this was 7, this was 10, and this was 12. So you realize that as price is increasing, the quantity supplied also increases. So when you graph this is your supply schedule. You can use this and have your supply curve. So when you schedule this, it will give you something like this. So you have price here, then you have quantity supply here. So when price was 2, the quantity, when price was 2, the quantity supplied was 3. When price was 3, the quantity supplied was 4. So when price was 6, the quantity supplied was 7. When price was 9, the quantity supplied becomes 11. So when you join all these, then you have a supply curve like this. So this is a supply curve, but this is a supply schedule. So here, all of them, they are showing a relationship, but this one is on a table, while this one is on a curve. That's the difference. So another concept, if you looked in the book, that we can look is market supply and individual supply. So we look at market supply versus individual supply. So this is very straightforward. What we have seen this in demand. So when you talk about individual supply, for example, let's look at let's say that we have a price here. The price of a good, let's say, is at 1, a 2, a 3. We have it here. Let's say the quantity supply, let's say Buba, this is Buba, a producer, and this is the quantity he supplied. Let's say Binta, another producer, this is the quantity he supplied at different prices. So let's say this one, when price was supplied 3, 5, 7. This one supplied 2, 4, then 6. So these are individual. This is an individual supply schedule. This is also another individual supply schedule. But when you add them, you can have a market supply. So the price is the same. So here we will have what? No names but market supply. So we have 1, then 2, then 3. We have 2. So this 3 plus 2, that will give us 5. So this will give us 9. That is 5 plus 4. 7 plus 6, that will give us 13. So when we talk about market supply, we have to just add the individual demand at each prices. So we add this and this, we add this and this, and this and this. So then we will add individual demands and have a market demand for it. So when we also cover market, this is a market supply schedule. So here we have this. So we can even go further and grab this and have market supply curve, which will give us at the price of 1, it was 5. At the price of 2, we have 9. This is 2. Then at the price of 3, we have 13. So then we have a market supply curve as this. So we go on. So we have our market supply curve and market supply schedule as well.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Malik is disturbing me with my class today.
I understand. So now we have this. Then we will, after market supply and individual, then we look at shift in supply curve, just like demand. So we looked at shifts. Shift in supply curve. So we will look at some of the factors that cause shift in supply curve. So we will realize that there are some factors, and when we talk about shift in supply